Hello, and welcome to my channel, Reading Little Blue Books Out Loud. This is a little blue book. It happens to be Little Blue Book number 1699, and it is entitled The Socialist Goal. And it is written by Fred Henderson. Now I will preface this little blue book with this information. I just purchased a collection of little blue books on the subject of socialism. And I find them most interesting, not because I'm a socialist, but because they were written in 1931. And 1931 was a very interesting time in American history and world history. We were between the world wars. We had successfully come out of World War I, and Europe was a mess. And America was expanding and thinking and saying all kinds of different things and ideas. And it was before the war broke out of World War II. So with that in mind, I'm going to read The Socialist Goal, written by Fred Henderson, and it is copyrighted 1931. So let's see how socialism of 1931 compares to what we know about it and think about it today. And here we go. The Socialist Goal. Other booklets in this series deal with the current activities of the socialist movement and the special problems that arise on the line of march towards the goal it seeks to attain. My task is to make as plain and clear to you as I can what that goal is. The central purpose towards which all the current activities of the movement are the route planning and road making. And here, right at the onset, there is a view of the matter which I must ask you not only to note in passing, but to bear in mind steadily through the whole of the argument which I have to submit to you. When anyone begins to talk to you about the goal of a movement, you have a natural suspicion, have you not, that he is about to recite his dreams to you, visions of a utopia unrelated to the real facts and the limitations of life. Something that may be a heart's desire, but inaccessible except in such dreams. I have nothing of that sort to put to you in speaking of the goal of socialism. What I am concerned to get across to you is an interpretation of the movement of history, of the discernible purpose toward which the forces now visibly operating in the world's life are carrying our civilization. If I cannot show you that the purpose of socialism is within the known possibilities of life, and is implicit in the growth and development of human society from the stage now reached, I shall fall in my mission. As spokesman and advocate of socialism, I will ask you, therefore, when I have completed this brief statement, to judge it by the known and ascertained facts. Well, you may ask of me, in that case, why, brother? If socialism is implicit in the growth and movement of civilization, why not leave it to make its own way into being by the play of economic forces? The reasons for bothering about it are very urgent indeed throughout the world today. Changes in an economic order may be inevitable, but they do not necessarily come about smoothly and by a natural process of growth because of that inevitability. They may have to break their way through the realization over a period of intense human suffering and vast confusions, brought about not only by the stubborn resistance of the vested interests which profit by the old order, but also by the inertia of mind of masses of undiscerning people to whom the changed conditions would be a release into fuller life. It is through such a period of great suffering, widespread confusion of life, and general insecurity that we are now passing. To leave human life to drift to its goal at the mercy of blind forces through a period of fundamental changes is to invite disaster. It would be like leaving a ship to be carried into harbor by the natural play of the cross currents and the rough seas besetting the approach. It has to be steered in. All the forces of human will and vision and understanding must be enlisted for the task of adjusting social and industrial action to the requirements of such a passage. Economic forces making for change in a social order cannot fulfill themselves except through human will, and when such forces are operating in an old social order which is not adjusted to their development, they can only rouse human will to the necessary effort by inflicting growing discomfort and disturbance upon human life by reason of that maladjustment, until men wake to the need for purposeful action on the lines indicated by the facts of their discomfort. This is the process by which in all human history changes are brought about. To this our present world distresses bear grim witness, and it is to such an understanding and awakening that the socialist movement calls the people of the world today. Stated in its wildest generalization, the goal of socialism is a new order of human society in which all citizens will be on the footing of economic equality. What I have to submit to you is that this is the purpose to which, on a full scrutiny of the facts, our modern economic developments will be found to be impelling us. That only so can they be brought into adjustment to the needs of human life, and that they will and must plunge us into constantly worsening discomfort and deeper confusion until we set ourselves to the task of bringing our society and industrial life into this adjustment to them. It is, I hope, clear to you that much more than economic change is involved in this. For such an economic change would be a change in the basis of the whole existing social structure. It means new human relationships and new social order, a new human culture and mode of living, a new age in history. All the human relationships and outlooks on life of a social order are largely the reactions of its methods of distributing wealth, and these wider things are the consequences of economic equality. While, therefore, so far as definite action is concerned, what we have to grapple with are the economic forms of our social organization. The real goal is the liberation of human life into full opportunity for the growth and higher developments, now so tragically suppressed by the poverty and drudgery to which the existing economic conditions cramp the mass of mankind. My purpose in this booklet is, then, to induce you to examine the facts to induce you to examine the facts and see what is the justification for the socialist claim that economic equality, with all it implies in the enlargement of human life, is the discernible goal towards which the forces now operating in our civilization are carrying us. Next chapter. Abundance of production. Let us begin at the beginning with the primary fact of all. Whatever dreams man may have of the expansion of human life, his actual satisfactions are always limited, and always must be limited, by the natural resources of the world we live in. His life, from the dawn of history, has been an insistent struggle with nature for subsistence, and nothing enters or can enter into any of his products or possessions except human effort applied to natural resources. Land and rain and sunshine and the living fertility of the earth and its creatures, wealth of minerals, wealth potential in every vein of the rocks, in the running waters, in the very air and its movements, and in the powers and energies of nature, capable of being harnessed to human service. This storehouse of nature is the heritage of mankind, and the sole source from which all human needs are supplied. And from the resources of a world so equipped, man has to win sustenance for his life and satisfaction for his desires. There are happenings in human history so big, so world-changing, so tremendous in the new outlook they necessitate over the whole range of life, that it takes centuries for mankind to grasp their full significance and to adjust life to their consequences. It is from such a deep and basic new influence affecting human life that all our present social and industrial perplexities have arisen. Within the past 200 years, the conditions of this human struggle with nature for sustenance, the basic thing in human life, have been fundamentally changed, and it is vitally necessary for an understanding of our present distresses and the way out of them that we should dwell for a little on this great change which has taken place, and get our minds quite clear as to its character. Nothing, as we have seen, enters or can enter into the production of wealth except human effort applied to natural resources. It is obvious that the scale on which human needs can be supplied from the storehouse of natural resources depends, therefore, not only upon whether there is an abundance in the storehouse itself, but also upon whether man has the key of knowledge to give him access to it. If the abundance is hidden from human knowledge, man might as well be living in a bare world as in a world of such concealed abundance, for all the use he can make of it. And that, up to some 200 years ago, was the immemorial condition of mankind. Man had only a very limited knowledge of the materials of the world, and no knowledge at all worth mentioning of the powers concealed in nature. For the supply of his needs, he was almost wholly dependent on the meager energy of his own muscles in carrying on the struggle with nature, and could only apply that energy to a meager range of materials. He lived life a pauper in the scantily furnished anteroom of the house of life, with no knowledge of the vast resources behind the locked doors of his ignorance, without even suspecting that there were such doors to be unlocked. He perished of cold within coal seams under his feet. He starved when his own local crops failed. He produced scantily, slowly, laboriously. For long uncounted generations his life was the life of isolated peasant communities, procuring by the hardest drudgery a scant living from the soil and the local natural resources to which his knowledge had penetrated and given him access. And always, down to but yesterday, the measure of his production was the physical energy of his own body. Being an ingenious and inventive creature, he devised tools to aid him in his work, but they were tools limited by the power of his own muscles to propel and operate them. The change which has taken place in all this is not a change in detail nor on the surface of things only. It is, I repeat, a deep and fundamental change in the basic character of man's struggle with nature for sustenance. People as a rule speak of this period of the Industrial Revolution as the machine age, but that is only a superficial description of it. It does not give you any idea of the real meaning and character of the change. It leaves out the vitally significant factor, the dynamic new thing in human life by which the world-changing magnitude of the Industrial Revolution is to be estimated. The machine is only a secondary thing in it, and might be no more than the old tool-using habit of mankind developed with greater ingenuity. The revolutionary significance of what has happened is not that the old labor process by which man in all previous generations was compelled to strive for sustenance has been more effectively developed, but that an entirely new process has been submitted for it. The revolutionary thing, the thing which has put man into an altogether new relationship to production, is that other and incomparably greater non-human powers have taken the place of human physical effort as the energy of production and the measure of output. Man has brought into subjection and under control new forces which do his bidding on such a scale as to enable him to release his own life from drudgery, and at the same time secure for himself an almost immeasurably greater volume of supplies. Instead of being himself the drudge, he has become the taskmaster of these forces, to which he has transferred most of the sheer physical toil of his effort to live, enslaving them to labor for him by a measure gigantically beyond his own physical powers. If you imagine this to be merely a change in the technique of production, you will utterly fail to grasp the significance of what is in the profoundest change that has ever taken place in the economy of human living. For what it means is nothing less than this, that so far as production is concerned, the problem of poverty is solved for mankind. It's pretty bold. Equipped with these new powers and their appropriate machines, the producing system of the world is capable today of supplying any human need on a scale of abundance that would have seemed the most fantastic impossibility until but a generation ago. We have passed from an age of scanty and toilsome output into an age of almost incredible possibilities of plenty. With our mastery over these new powers, we can now, for the first time in human history, speak of an opulent life for all mankind, not merely as an aspiration, a dream unrelated to the facts, but as a thing for which the means are visible and at our command. And I think we'll stop there for part 1.